By the Japanese, a certain kind of girl is called a rose girl. Perhaps my reader will think of Tennyson's Queen Rose of the Rosebud Garden of Girls, and imagine some analogy between the Japanese and the English idea of femininity symbolized by the rose. But there is no analogy whatsoever. The rose girl is not so called because she is delicate and sweet, nor because she blushes, nor because she is rosy. Indeed, a rosy face is not admired in Japan. No, she is compared to a rose chiefly for the reason that a rose has thorns. The man who tries to pull a Japanese rose is likely to hurt his fingers. The man who tries to win a rose girl is apt to hurt himself much more seriously, even unto death. It were better, alone and unarmed, to meet a tiger than to invite the caress of a rose girl. Now the appellation of rose girl, much more rational as a simile than many of our own floral comparisons, can seem strange, only because it is not in accord with our poetical usages and emotional habits. It is one in 1,000 possible examples of the fact that Japanese similes and metaphors are not of the sort that he who runs may read, and this fact is particularly well exemplified in the personal names of Japanese women, because a personal name happens to be identical with the name of some tree or bird or flower, it does not follow that the personal appellation conveys to Japanese imagination ideas resembling those which the corresponding English word would convey, under like circumstances, to English imagination. Of the personal names that seem to us especially beautiful in translation, only a small number are bestowed for aesthetic reasons. Nor is it correct to suppose, as many persons still do, that Japanese girls are usually named after flowers, or graceful shrubs, or other beautiful objects. Aesthetic appellations are in use, but the majority of personal names are not aesthetic. Some years ago, a young Japanese scholar published an interesting essay upon this subject. He had collected the personal names of about 400 students of the higher normal school for females, girls from every part of the empire, and he found on his list only between 50 and 60 names possessing aesthetic quality. But concerning even these, he was careful to observe only that they caused an aesthetic sensation, not that they had been given for aesthetic reasons. Among them were such names as cape, peak, beach, shore, capital, originally place names, stork, rice field stork, and thousand storks. Also such appellations as fertile field, weaver's field, proof, and sand. Few of these could seem aesthetic to a Western mind, and probably no one of them was originally given for aesthetic reasons. Names meaning the character for stork are names having reference to longevity, not to beauty, and a large number of names with the termination field or plain are names expressing moral or mental qualities. I doubt whether even 15% of personal names are really aesthetic. A much larger proportion are names expressing these moral and mental qualities. Tenderness, kindness, deftness, cleverness are frequently represented by personal names, but appellations implying physical charm or suggesting aesthetic ideas only are comparatively uncommon. One reason for this fact may be that very aesthetic names are given to geisha and consequently vulgarized, but the chief reason certainly is that the domestic virtues still occupy in Japanese moral estimate a place not less important than that accorded to religious faith in the life of our own Middle Ages. Not in theory only, but in everyday practice, moral beauty is placed far above physical beauty, and girls are usually selected as wives, not for their good looks, but for their domestic qualities. Among the middle classes, a very aesthetic name would not be considered in the best taste. Among the poorer classes, it would scarcely be thought respectable. Ladies of rank, on the other hand, are privileged to bear very poetical names. Yet the majority of the aristocratic personal names are also moral rather than aesthetic.